Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new, please hit that like and subscribe button, and let's get right into today's video. So for today's video, I will be doing an in-depth video on how to do acrylic press-ons. So for the nail tips, I will be using these medium square nail tips. All these nail tips I am using are from the 𝐸𝐸 or the 𝐸𝐸 brand. Some medium almond nail tips as well with the extra long tapered square. I do have the link down below. You can get all these nail tips off of Amazon. I did go ahead and remove one of the nail tips because I realized I didn't need 5 of them. I only needed 4. So getting into the acrylics I will be using today, I will just be using blush from our Sheer Beauty collection, wine from our Fall Dreams collection, along with some clear acrylic as well. So I try to leave in me picking up the acrylic and everything like that in camera so that way you guys can kind of see how I do that. So what I like to do is dip my brush into my monomer and kind of wipe off all the excess till I reach almost the tip of my nail brush, and then I like to dab it into the acrylic powder at least 3 to 4 times. And then what I like to do is kind of tap it on the edge of my dapping dish to help polymerize it faster. I feel like me doing that just kind of helps with the acrylic application and it flowing nicely, if that makes sense. Like as you can see here, it's not really flowing off to the sides and anything like that. It makes it super easy for me to control. So that's just my personal preference. You don't have to do that, but that is just something I do when I do my acrylic applications. So with my first bead, I like to place it kind of like, I'd say maybe half a centimeter below the cuticle area of the nail tip. And then after I have it placed, I do like to start like gently patting it down towards the free edge, and this is going to help make it easier to control the acrylic powder and just help perfect the structure and everything like that. As you can see there at the free edge, it's a bit thick, so what I like to do is kind of tap it to where all of it's even, and then make sure to keep wiping down the sidewalls and wiping all that excess acrylic powder down towards the free edge, because once I have it all down there, I will be like just taking it off the nail so that way it's not just all hanging there. So as you can see, that is what I am doing now, just taking all that excess acrylic powder off the free edge, and then I do like to go back in and kind of perfect that area so that way it's nice and straight. And then here's what the structure is looking like. I feel like it was still a little bit thick at the free edge, so what I did is just kind of wiped it up towards the rest of the acrylic powder just to blend it in and create a nice structure there. The key to keeping a nice structure and like shape when doing acrylic press-ons or any type of acrylic enhancement is just constantly making sure to wipe down your sidewalls and the free edge. This is going to help keep your shape nice and straight, and it will also help lessen the amount of time needed to file your nails once you get to that step. So here's what the structure is looking like after that first bead. So getting into the second bead, I like to do the same exact method with my monomer and then dipping it 3 times into the acrylic powder, tapping it on the side of my dapping dish, and then I do like to kind of pat it on the paper towel to kind of dry it out a bit faster and help it not be so runny, if that makes sense. And then when I place this bead, I like to place it right on top of that previous one we just did, and then I like to blend it up into the cuticle area so that way it's nice and thin there. And then after I have that done, I just like to blend in that like bottom portion of that bead into the rest of the acrylic, and then like I said, making sure to wipe down my sidewalls and everything like that to keep the nice shape we do have. And this is what the structure is looking like. I think this thickness and everything like that is perfect for acrylic press-ons. It's not super thick, and like I said, we do have to file later on, so it will kind of help like not have it so thick, if that makes sense. So I am showing you how to do it on an almond shaped as well. I just feel like this is like another shape that I commonly get orders for, if that makes sense. And I was just wanting just to show, like I said, so that way you know how to do it on like different shapes and everything like that. I am doing the same exact acrylic method or like the bead method on the almond nails like I just did on that previous square nail. So to kind of explain the nails I will be doing for today, like not nails but the like little tutorial here, is I'm showing you how to do acrylic press-ons on a medium square length nail tip, a medium almond shaped nail tip, and then I am doing some encapsulation. That is why I had the glitter and the clear out, and I will be showing how to do the acrylic on the longer nail tip as well. And the main reason I am showing these 4 like methods, I guess, is because these are the most common methods I get like orders for. So I mainly get like medium square or like medium length nails, or I get nails that have some sort of glitter that needs to be encapsulated, or I do get longer nails that just need some acrylic on it as well. So I just figured why not make a video and show you guys how I do my acrylic application on all of those like most requested like orders I get. So I hope all of that made sense of me kind of explaining why I am doing this little tutorial here. I will kind of just let you finish watching up the rest of the almond nail application, and I will come back in once it's time to explain the next one that we do. And this is what the structure and the thickness is looking like on this almond nail. Very natural looking, I would say. Not super thick, and like I said, like on the other nail, we do have to file, so we will be making sure to kind of debulk any areas that need to be. So getting into the longer nail, I do like to try to do a 3B method for the longer length. So again, the same amount of acrylic powder I pick up, and I place it probably, I'd say, about a centimeter below the cuticle area, so a bit further down than where I would place it on the medium length nail tip. And then again, after I place the acrylic powder on the nail tip, I do like to start patting it down towards the free edge. And from just looking at the bead, I did pick up a little bit less acrylic, so I do know that I will need to add a bit more acrylic to the tip to make it a nice thickness there, which you will see me do in just a little bit. So the key to having a nice structure, I would say, or like a nice thickness, I would say, on some nails, is to just keep patting it down towards the free edge, and that's going to help build an even, nice structure. When I used to do acrylic nails probably about a year ago, or like the beginning of this year, I would be the type that would just place the bead and then just swipe automatically down towards the free edge, which would waste a lot of acrylic powder, and it just wasn't helping anything at all. It wasn't helping build any type of structure, I would say, unless I went in with clear acrylic. But when I did do that, it was still the same method and it wasn't helping build any structure. So I hope that makes sense. I kind of figured out how to change my method up a little bit in the last few months, and this has helped me a lot with my acrylic application and building structure and everything like that. So as you can see, I did need to add a little bit more to that free edge area, so I did pick up a small bead of acrylic powder, and I am just blending it up with the previous bead we applied to help build that structure there, again wiping down the sidewalls and the free edge. And then I do kind of like to very gently wipe over the top to kind of wipe off any excess of acrylic powder that doesn't need to be there. Now getting into the second bead, I am going to be picking up another like medium to large bead of acrylic powder, and I will be placing this right above the previous one we placed. And this bead right here is going to start helping build up the apex that the nail needs. Like I said, when doing acrylic press-ons, the apex doesn't need to be super thick, because if your like customer or your client applies the press-on to themselves after, if the like apex is super thick, it will not look natural, and you definitely want it to look natural when they do apply press-ons. So I recommend trying to not like have a super thick acrylic application on top of like full cover nails. I would say that used to be like my main problem when I first started doing acrylic press-ons. I would do them super thick and I would put them on myself and they did not look natural at all. So that is why I like recommend just always figuring out methods that help kind of just like help the process. Like I watched a lot of tutorials on acrylic application to help perfect that even further and just all that. So I highly recommend just figuring out what works for you and like all that stuff. And now I am going in with my final bead, and this is going to be like a medium-sized bead, and I do like to dry it out pretty nicely on the paper towel so that way it just stays in place and it doesn't move everywhere. And again, like I did on the previous nails, I like to place it right below the cuticle area and kind of brush it up like I am doing here. And then after I have that whole surface covered, I do like to blend in the bottom portion of that bead into the rest of the nail, and this is going to keep the nice apex that we do have on the nail. So here I seen I needed to add a tiny bit of acrylic to the upper corner of this nail, so that's what I am doing here, just gently placing it there, blending it up into the cuticle area, and then blending the rest of that down into the rest of the nail, making sure to wipe down the sidewalls to keep the nice square shape we do have. And then this is what everything is looking like. I do like to kind of blend it in a bit further to make sure everything is nicely even and everything like that. And then this is what the structure is looking like on this longer length. Again, I feel like this thickness is perfect for this length, and it will look super natural once your customer or your client applies it to their nails. So for this next portion here, I will be showing you how to kind of like encapsulate some glitter or any type of encapsulation when doing some press-ons. So getting into it, I will be using this glitter acrylic called Wine from our Fall Dreams collection. So if you're interested in any of our KAIROSE nail supply products, I do have our link down below. But when you are doing some sort of encapsulation, you do want to make sure that the bottom layer, if that makes sense, is thin, because you will have to kind of create that structure and thickness with the clear acrylic. You will see that I did kind of mess up when doing this. I applied the glitter acrylic kind of thick because like right here I kind of go back in and add more glitter where I shouldn't have. But in the end, after I'm done encapsulating and filing, it will all work out. It will be more thin compared to what the application will like show. Like I said, it will be a little bit thick after I'm done encapsulating. But once I get into that filing portion and file it and kind of debulk it, it will be a bit thinner than it is. So I will go ahead and just let you watch the rest of the application on this nail play out, because I will be doing the same exact thing using that clear acrylic on top of this glitter acrylic. And I'll come back in once it's time to shape and file these, so that way I can kind of go in depth on how I shape and file the press-ons as well. So as you can see here, like I said, this nail is a bit thicker than the rest of them just because I encapsulated a little bit too much. But getting into the filing, I am just using a 100 by 100 grit hand file. The grit of the file is personal preference. And then here when I'm filing, I like to keep the file parallel to the nail. So like right here, I have it parallel. I don't have it pointing outwards or anything like that. I have it evenly parallel with the nail. But like I said, you can use whatever grit you want to use. It can be 80 by 80, it can be like a 180 by 180, your personal preference. You can also use an e-file for this method as well. I just prefer to use a hand file. I feel like with the hand file, I have more control over the filing and kind of I can debulk where I need to debulk better with a hand file than I can with the e-file, if that makes sense. So getting into that filing, what I like to do is start off by filing the sidewalls first and make sure everything is nice and straight. And then I do like to file the cuticle area kind of in a reverse method, if that makes sense. So instead of filing this way like I am right here, I am filing away from the nail. And that just kind of helps thin it out a bit and make it look more natural when it is applied to a nail. And then here I'm just filing over the entire surface of the nail using this same exact motion here. This just helps make everything even and perfect and nicely just crisp, I guess you would say. So this is what the structure is looking like so far. So what I like to do for the free edge is kind of turn it over like this. And I don't like to have the nail file kind of parallel. I like to have this one pointing outward a little bit like this. And this is going to kind of help create that nice, like I would say, subtle C-curve effect on the nail. I just feel like that look is more subtle, more clean looking. You can obviously use your e-file to kind of create more of a moon cut where it kind of goes in a bit further, if that makes sense. But I like to kind of just file it slightly at an angle, and then I like to file it even, if that makes sense. So this is what the structure is looking like after everything is completely filed. This is how I like to have my acrylic press-ons look like. So again, I am doing the same exact thing for the rest of the nails here. I'm just using the back of that hand file to make sure that the nail is completely dried, since this is the last one that we just did the acrylic application on. You want to make sure it's completely dried, otherwise it will be just like gooey and gummy when you file, and it will just kind of mess up your hand file, if that makes sense. So again, when filing, you want to make sure to keep the hand file parallel to the nail so that we can have a nice crisp sidewall shape, if that makes sense, or like a nice crisp sidewall. And then here again, when I was talking about for the cuticle area, I like to kind of file it away from the nail, if that makes sense. And this is going to help create that nice thinness in that cuticle area, and then again over the entire surface to smooth it out. If you are interested in seeing how to use your e-file to file any type of press-ons, I do have a couple videos back. I don't know exactly which one I did last that had my e-file using, I don't know which video I had last of me doing a press-on set using an e-file, but I will go ahead and try to find one and have it linked down below. But like I said, it's all personal preference. Even when you're doing acrylic nails on yourself or on a client, you can definitely use just a hand file for the finished filing, or you can just use an e-file instead of a hand file. It's all up to you. But like I said, for acrylic press-ons, I like to stick with using a hand file. And then again with that free edge, I don't like to have the file parallel. I like to have it pointing out slightly to help kind of create that curve, like C-curve subtle shape. So that is what I'm doing here. And then after I'm done with this, I do kind of like to file it, I don't know how I would say it, like horizontally, I guess, just to kind of help straighten it out just a little bit. But here you can still see that it kind of has that subtle curve to the free edge. And obviously you can see the thickness there underneath the nail, but I will be going in with my e-file to kind of thin that out, which you will see later on. So I will go ahead and just let you watch the rest of the filing portion play out, because I am just doing the same exact thing pretty much to all the nails except for here. I'm just making sure to round out the tip of the almond nail just to have it nicely like rounded out, I guess you would say. So I will go ahead and just let you guys watch the rest of that, and I'll come back in once it's time to move on to the next step. So for the rest of the filing, I do like to do this last step with my e-file. So I am taking a fine 5-in-1 drill bit. It's a tapered one. And I do have my drill set to the speed of 5,000 RPMs. I forgot to show when I bumped it up. I realized that the 5 RPMs was a bit too slow. So I bumped it up to 7,000 RPMs, and it helps out a lot. So you want to make sure to stabilize with your pinky when doing this step. Otherwise the drill will skip and it will kind of file everything else besides where you want it to file, if that makes sense. And then I do like to hold the drill bit at like a slight angle to kind of help thin out that area. So like that's what I'm doing here. I'm not holding it parallel, I guess you would say, to the nail. I'm having it slightly up, and then I am filing underneath the free edge area to thin it out. I kind of wish my camera wasn't so blurry so that way you guys can kind of see what I'm doing, but I hope you can still understand by what I am saying on how to do this step. And then as you can see, it kind of thinned out just a little bit. So I will be showing you how I do that on the rest of the square nails. I do not do this step when doing an almond nail or anything like that, just because there's really no point in doing that. It would just kind of mess up the shape underneath. You want to make sure to use like a hand file, I guess, for that portion. So like if it's thick underneath the almond nail, go ahead with the hand file and file underneath the nail, and that will kind of help thin out that free edge of the like tip of the almond, if that makes sense. I did not show me doing that exact method on the almond nail. I just kind of skipped it altogether, but I wish I did, so that way you can kind of see how I did that. But after I'm done filing with the e-file, I do like to go back in one more time with a hand file just to kind of crisp up that free edge and make sure everything is nice and straight. I guess I did leave in the portion of me doing the almond, like thinning out the free edge and everything. It was just right here in this specific time, I guess. So like you can see here, I'm going underneath the nail to file it and make it thinner, and then I like to kind of crispen up the like tip of the almond shape just to make sure everything is to my liking, and then again shaping up the free edge on the square nails to make sure that is nice and crisp and straight as well. And this is exactly what the nails are looking like after they're shaped and filed. So the next step you would do is just buff the nails and then put on the design you desire. But I did not show me doing that since I have tons of videos of me doing designs and everything like that. I am just showing though that I do kind of wipe all the nails off with a lint-free wipe and some alcohol. And that is pretty much the end of the video. I hope you guys understood and learned from this acrylic press-on tutorial, so that way if you're looking to do acrylic press-ons in the future, or you're looking to do that now, this helps out a lot. And also, when taking from this video, always make sure to do what you feel is necessary for your liking, if that makes sense. So like if you feel you can do like a one bead method, let's say for the acrylic application, and have a perfect structure, go ahead and do so, you know. It doesn't have to be exactly what I am doing in this video for you to do anything to your liking. I hope that makes sense. But if you are interested in seeing any type of tutorial, like another type of acrylic press-on tutorial, whether that be some sort of nail or anything like that, please feel free to leave it in the comments and I will look into doing that. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!